All right.
Okay, so welcome everyone to our Study Abroad podcast series. So today we have Vishwa, who is in Tokyo and he's from Mumbai. So we'll be knowing his journey from Mumbai to Tokyo. So welcome, Vishwa.
Hello. Yes. Thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Absolute pleasure to be here.
So Vishwa, what was your first time like in your life when you thought that maybe I should go abroad or I should explore abroad studies as a career option?
Um, I don't think there was a conscious time where I could say that, okay, this was the time when I thought about it. It was always there in the back of my head because whenever you do engineering or any kind of things in India, it's always that like, okay, you have to higher studies and then do this. So it was kind of there in the back of my head that I want to go, but I think it materialized maybe around the ending of my second year, around COVID hit. I think in 2020, I was like, okay, I have to start preparing now. I'll be graduating in 2 years. That's when it was like a conscious thing and things started materializing. Yeah.
Sure, sure. So were you also considering other countries, other college, or Tokyo was the option?
Yeah, actually, I was considering other countries. In fact, if I, to be very honest, Japan was not my first option. Yeah, so I applied abroad twice. Once when I applied, like I applied for the 2022 cycle, fall 2022, which is when I was supposed to graduate. So that time I applied to mostly US and a few places in Europe. But the total number of universities I applied to was very limited, around seven, I think, seven universities in total, seven to eight. Uh, Unfortunately, I only made it to one of the universities in the US, decided not to go. And then next year when I applied to Japan as well as US and Europe, and then decided Japan was the best option to go. Yeah.
Okay, and how did you decide this best option? Is it based on the like the professor, the research, the stipend, the scholarship?
Yes, so one is scholarship. So in the US, I had a couple of offers. One was there. I think there were two offers, but both of them were kind of masters for masters and without any funding, which I wasn't very keen on taking because student loans and other things. I just wasn't very keen on taking that. Europe, I did not have any offers. And then there was this Japan. So Japan, I had a full scholarship to come and study here. And plus, of course, the university ranking was absolutely amazing. University of Tokyo, it's top 25 in QS. Uh, and also my professor, he's like one of the top researchers in the field. So that kind of made sense to choose this over US or any other university. Yeah,
Sure, sure. So, University of Tokyo is like the like within top two, top three of Japan itself. Like country-wise, the
it's
ranking is one or two.
top one in Japan. Yeah. So here, if I go to any Japanese person and be like, "Oh, I study at University of Tokyo," they just get like, "Oh, wow, you must be very smart." So it's like very renowned in Japan. Yeah.
Okay, okay, sure. And you went for this research-based masters, not course-based masters.
So in Japan, typically, at least I can say with certainty for engineering courses that most of the masters are research-based masters. What that means is that typically 70% of your credits would come from research and 30% from coursework. Yeah, and coursework is also like mostly because most of the universities have multiple campuses and students are spread across different campuses. So there are a lot of courses, majority of the courses are happening online, and not much in terms of like writing exams. It's mostly report submissions and project-based evaluations. So the coursework is pretty chill, I would say. Mostly research is what matters. Yeah, which was ideal and something what exactly what I was looking for. Yeah.
So this scholarship that you got has a RATA component.
No. So this is a scholarship. It's called MEXT, or in Japanese, it's basically Monbukagakusho, which is Ministry of Education in Japan. So they have given the scholarship. So the scholarship is separate from the university. So I do not have any, like my stipend does not come from the university. It directly comes from the Japanese government. So I do not have any TA roles or RA roles to do. In addition to this, the government of Japan also pays for my tuition fee. So that is also taken care of. and they also took care of my travel. So my initial flight from Mumbai to Tokyo was covered, and once I graduate, my last like flight back will also be covered. So that much is yeah.
So they want you to go back after graduation.
I mean, not really, but I mean, Japan is actually looking for a lot of foreigners and international talent. So yeah, but yeah, if I choose to go back, yeah, they'll cover my flight. Yeah.
Okay, okay, that's good. So that way, you don't have to
Yeah.
spend anything from your side, like once you get
Yes.
admit. What about the visa? Like that was also done by them. Like how was the process?
So they just give you like typically, I think I'm not sure, but I think for in general for tourists also the visa process in India is like at least by Embassy of Japan and Japanese consulates is that you submit the visa and like minimum 5 working days they require for processing the visa and then you get it. So I just had to submit like the acceptance letter from my university and the MEXT scholarship letter, which also the embassy had provided. So this whole scholarship was given like the process happened through the embassy. So they had given me a letter. I submitted it to the consulate in Mumbai, and I think I got it within a week. So it wasn't there was no interview, nothing else. I just submitted. I just went there, dropped my documents, and the next week I went and picked up my visa. So
Sure.
pretty easy.
So this scholarship was part of the application process, or you had to apply for this scholarship as a separate application?
Yeah, so the thing is this scholarship, MEXT scholarship, there are plenty of other scholarships in Japan. So this one is like one of the popular scholarships. So there are two ways to apply for this. The route which I applied through was the embassy route. So in that I have to make my application through the Embassy of Japan in India, which is in Delhi. Uh, and the another route is that I can directly apply to one university and then I submit all my documents to that university, and then university recommends my name to the Japanese government for scholarship. In my case, I applied to the embassy, so Embassy of Japan recommends my name to the Japanese government for giving me the scholarship. So in this, I first applied for the scholarship, um, and the process for embassy route is very tedious. You have to apply like a year in advance, whereas for university, it's like straightforward. So I applied like I think in May 5th, on around May 15th, 2022, I submitted my application. And then within a month, you submit a preliminary application and they say that, okay, you have cleared the first round. I think around 2,000 to 3,000 people apply for that. And they select about 180 applicants from that pool. And then those 180 people are called to Delhi for giving a language exam, English and Japanese both. If you don't know Japanese, it's okay. You can just attempt like randomly mark anything. But English exam you should pass definitely. After that, there's an interview by Embassy of Japan. Once you clear that, then that's the first round of scholarship which you clear. Then you apply to the university saying that okay, I have the scholarship now. Can you give me acceptance? And then once university accepts you, professor accepts you, then you submit it back to embassy saying that okay, these are the professors and these are the universities I'm interested in, and then they take their sweet time around 5 months, 4 5 months, and then around January of next year, February, I got an acceptance saying that oh, you have been accepted and allotted this university and this professor to work with.
Sure,
So
sure.
it was a 1 year
So
process.
1 year before only you knew that okay, I should apply to this scholarship, and if I get this scholarship, I'll apply to University of Tokyo.
Not so for me, as I said, Japan was never my first option. I wasn't proactively looking to apply to Japan. I had looked into it during my first cycle for fall 2022, but at that time I didn't find much back then, so I did not apply. But when second year when I was applying, my professor actually from Triple IT, he is actually also a MEX scholar. He did his PhD from Japan. So he just sent me that, why don't you give it a try? Just apply for it. So I had submitted the application and I had almost forgotten that I had submitted the application for this. And then when it came, I was like, okay, I'm been selected. And then when I cleared the exam, English exam and the interview as well, uh, that's when I realized that, oh, okay, now I can go to Japan. And that's when I actually started looking into the Japanese universities and University of Tokyo. That's when I looked into it and I was like absolutely like, you know, interested in going ahead. And yeah, that's when it sort of happened. So my preliminary application, I wasn't like very sure of how things are going to go, but Once I cleared the rounds and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get. So that's when I started proactively looking into it. Yeah.
Sure, sure. And the accommodation, how did you find the accommodation?
So it's very university specific accommodation here. The thing is, Tokyo is very expensive compared to other cities in Japan. So when you are, let's say, in Osaka or Sendai, Tohoku, these places are cheaper to live in. Uh, but Tokyo is expensive. So University of Tokyo has several dormitories. So when you're first arriving in Japan, you can choose one of the dormitories to stay in. So, but that's only for a year. If you're on a MEXT scholarship, they give you only a specific dormitory. But whereas if you're a self-funded student or something, you can go for a cheaper dormitory. But unfortunately, we weren't allowed to go for that. Anyways, so once you get that dormitory, you can stay there up till a year, until a year, and then look for other places to live in, like a personal apartment or some other places. In addition to that, there is so Japanese government. There's an organization called JASO. They have taken over a specific area here, which is a very posh area called Odaiba. It's an island in Tokyo, and there they have built several, single rooms, couple rooms, family rooms, uh, especially for international students and researchers. And they are like really, really nice rooms with fully furnished appliances. Everything is given and at subsidized price. With such a posh area, it's like a sea facing view, and everything is there. So it's like a really nice apartment. So they have given that for international students. So I can choose to move there as well through my university. I can apply and move there. So plenty of options available, but yeah, those things are a little far. So if you're someone who wants to stay closer to the campus, then maybe you can have a little hard time finding a good apartment. I'm staying in my own apartment, by the way. Yeah, so it was a little, yeah, a difficult task to find this. Yeah, but yeah.
Sure, sure. And any other test like TOEFL, GRE, IELTS, etc. need to be done for Tokyo or nothing like that?
Yes. Yes, not for the scholarship application because that the English exam happens. But once you get the scholarship, the application for the university is separate. Like you have the scholarship, but that is separate from the university process and administrative process. So when I applied for the university, I had to submit my TOEFL or IELTS. So my department was accepting TOEFL, so I had to submit my TOEFL score. Yeah, but luckily for me, I already had given TOEFL when I was applying the previous year, so I had the scores already. So
Sure, sure. And you had this application process, that's a TOEFL score and things like that. So this scholarship that you got was applicable to any University of Japan or only to specific University of Tokyo?
yes, so as I said, like there are two routes, right? So the embassy route, it gives you the freedom to apply to three universities at max. So you can approach three universities. So typically in Japan, there are like public, national, and private universities. So you can apply to any of these universities. And then in the end, you have to submit a form. When I say that, okay, I've got acceptance from three universities, when I send my application to embassy, I have to fill that, okay, this is my first choice, second choice, and third choice. And then they'll do their process and allot me university based on my choice. So they should give you your first choice. But I've heard, I'm not sure how to use this, but I've heard that if you put a private university first, sometimes the chances of you getting a private university over a national or public university is lower. In my case, I had all three were like I think national and public universities, and U Tokyo was the first one. University of Tokyo was first choice, so I naturally got that. But yeah, so that's there. If you apply to the university route, in that you have to choose any one university in advance and then do this whole application with that university. So in that you cannot apply to multiple universities. But embassy it gives me choice. Yeah,
Yeah, sure. So there are two ways, like you said. One is
yeah,
get scholarship first and then choose the university. Second is choose the
yeah.
university first, then choose the scholarship.
Yes, exactly. So it's like that. But another thing which I think it's not well known is that the embassy route, that scholarship is given for research students. So the thing is, your status initially when you start is something called as research student, which is non-degree student. So most of the universities, they at most of the universities you have to first be a research student. You just do research for 6 months or a year, typically 6 months. In that 6 months, you can take Japanese courses if you like Japanese language courses, also do some preparatory courses, and then I have to give an entrance exam to convert my status from research student to a master's or a doctoral student. But many universities have an internal way in which you can waive this 6 months period and you can directly start as a master's or a doctoral student. So I know some people who have done that. In my case, I could not get it to waive off. But yeah, so I had to convert my status after 6 months and then I started my master's this year. Yeah.
Okay, okay, sure.
But with the
And you
university
had
route,
to,
you directly start as a master's student or a doctoral student. So you don't have this phase. Yeah.
correct. Okay, okay, I see. And you had to give
Mhm.
a statement of purpose and letter of recommendation, LORs also for the application?
For the scholarship, yes, I had to do that, but the it wasn't the same format as you do for US or Europe for that matter. It's very different. So I had to submit one LOR from my academic advisor for the scholarship, and the statement of purpose was very different, differently worded, I would say, than I would for US or Europe. So it's not called statement of purpose, firstly. So it's like a very long application form. In that, there are several questions like, oh, why do you want to choose Japan? Why only Japan? Uh, why do you, which university are you interested in? And why do you think that you can pursue your research goals in Japan? And then I also had to give like a research plan, research goals. Like if I get this scholarship, what exactly do I plan to research on? And what is my plan on how will I carry out those research and accomplish those research goals. So it's a very different statement of purpose compared to you know the US. And there is of course one question about your past and present field of study, but it's like divided into various questions and you have to answer those questions to get the scholarship. Yeah.
So, so this is like in a Q&A format, like why this country, why this
Yes.
college, why this
Yeah.
course?
Yes, exactly.
Correct, correct, correct.
Yeah.
And letter of recommendation also that was needed, like two, three.
Only one from academic advisor. And if you're working somewhere, then you can also submit one from your like boss. Uh, yeah, boss. Uh, but yeah, usually one LOR from your academic advisor is good enough. Yeah.
Sure, sure. And which flight did you take to come here?
They gave me ANA, ANA, All Nippon Airways, which is Japanese Airlines, by the way. Yeah.
It's a direct flight from Mumbai to here, or there was a stopover?
Yeah. So there is a direct flight. It's a direct flight from Mumbai.
Okay, okay. So once you landed in Japan, what was your initial surprises, shocks?
There were many, and I still keep getting them. But yeah, in the sense, I can just keep going on about cultural shocks. But to name a few, like I think like in India, we always hear this about Japan, but and it's actually true when I experience it, like how punctual they are. Like even 1 minute matters. Um, like you have to be exactly on time and things are very organized here. So that's kind of coming from India, where if you say 6 p.m. for a meeting, 6:15, 6:30 is ideal. Start time here, it's like 6, then 5:50. You have to be there. So something like
So,
like
you
a
know, it said
like not a
if you are on time, you are late. You have to
yes,
be before time.
exactly. Exactly. So I was late for a few meetings by like 1 or 2 minutes, and still I was told that it's fine if you're coming late, but you have to inform in advance that you'll be late by a minute or two as well. So that was something was very surprising for me, and how much they follow these things. Apart from that, yeah, food has been one of the challenges. So I'm a vegetarian, and at least in Tokyo, it's much better because Tokyo is very international friendly, I would say. So there are a lot of vegan, vegetarian friendly restaurants, but it's not very pocket friendly. But if you are a meat eater, you can just survive without cooking at all. Like you can just eat outside every day. and still have the same cost as much as you would do with cooking every day. But getting vegetarian food, although it's available, it's a little expensive. So I cannot have it daily. So that's something I have to be prepared mentally. Like, okay, I have to cook this like this. This is my plan, and I have to buy this, and you know. So that's some planning is required. So that's something now I'm accustomed to. But when I landed, it was something overwhelming for me. Yeah, cooking, punctuality, um, and there are many rules in Japan. Like, in India, if you're there traveling in a train, it does not, you can eat, you can talk on phone, you can do whatever you want. Nobody will care. But in Japan, when I'm traveling, I cannot speak on phone, I cannot talk loudly on train, I cannot eat on train, I cannot drink on train. So there are so many things, to take, like, yeah. So these are some Japanese like rules which you need to follow by. I mean, I wouldn't say rules, but it's just that their way of feeling things. So you have to blend in to the culture. So yeah, those were some of the things which I was like, oh, okay, I have to do this. Yeah. So yeah, these are
And
some of the things.
you were told all these rules by somebody, or you made mistake and then somebody shouted it?
I kind of knew from some seniors, and you hear things here and there. Also on trains, it's written that please do not talk on phone. And then if it's written, people just follow it. Like in India, if it's written, "Yahan thukna mana hai," people will litter there. But but here it's, yeah. I mean, yeah, not to say bad about India, but that's something. It's there. So it's like here,
More
if it's said,
discipline.
it's done. It's more done. Like it's that discipline. Like if once it's said, it's just there.
Correct, correct. And everyone
It won't
follows, like
be even repeated.
unlike
Yeah,
India where
everyone.
people don't follow. We people feel adventurous to break rules.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. So you have to enforce. In India, it's like you have to enforce on them rule. Here you don't have to enforce. You just tell them and it's done. That's all. You don't have to enforce things. So that was something very unique to me, that, oh, okay, bol diya to bol diya. Okay, done.
Correct, correct. What? So this cooking thing, you knew a bit of a cooking, or you learned after all these responsibilities fell on
Um,
your head?
I kind of knew that I would have to cook. So to give a context, like my dad, he used to work in Tokyo long time back, and he stayed here for like 7 years, and my mom as well. So they kind of told me a few background about, like, yeah, you have to cook. These are going to be the problems. Vegetarian food nahi milega and all of that. So I kind of knew. So I learned a little bit of cooking before coming. But like once I came here, I think I learned even more than that. Like once you're on your own and you're like, okay, I have to do this, and like you will always obviously learn more or learn better. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. So when your parents were living there for 7 years and all, you were not born that time, or you were just born that
I
time?
was I was born. Yeah. So I've been to Japan before I was born. So I think he came here in 97, 1997, 90, yeah, around that time. And I was born in 2001. So yeah, the first few years I wasn't there. Last few years I was there, and then they decided to come back to India. So I don't have very any memories of here, of
Okay.
Tokyo.
Too much, too less of an age that time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay, okay. But anyway,
yeah.
you are now, you are creating your memory as a, going back to your birthplace or something.
Yeah, yeah, kind of, yes.
Sure, sure. And what about the education system there? Like when you had some classes, the way they teach versus the way you were taught in India, what were the key
Um,
differences, shocks, surprises?
um, there wasn't a very like any shock as such. I mean, it's just not. So it's a graduate level class, so I don't think I can compare much with India. But yeah, so graduate level classes are a little advanced classes, so it's not like they'll teach you fundamentals or something like that. But yeah, because I've taken mostly online classes, I didn't go for offline option. And also the thing is, there are good number of classes happening in Japanese language. Although my master's is in English, I mean, technically, yeah, it's in English. So I choose only the English courses. So English courses, then of course it limits your option till some extent. And I choose only online classes. So it's been good. But as I said, like coursework is like just a small part of your master's here. Research is mainly what's focused on. Um, it's mostly here, it's like mostly writing reports and give like doing assignments rather than having an exam for your courses. Like there's no final I mean, some courses do have it, but at least the courses which I've taken all of them where it's just like a project based or a research based or a report based uh, evaluation. So that's something really nice, and I can take all of them online. So that's been one difference I would say compared to India, because in India it's like, oh, everything is offline, and then you will have a test component associated with it. Rarely some professor will be like, okay, there's no test, you just have to submit a project. But here it's a very common thing. So that was something I would say a shock for me. But quality wise, yeah, it's nice. It's really nice. Yeah.
Any part-time job internships that you did so far?
Yes, I am doing an internship right now at a startup. So that's there. And there are plenty of part-time jobs available, at least in Tokyo. Definitely, a lot of options are available because a lot of companies are headquartered here. So you have a lot of options to do part-times and internships and everything. Uh, yeah, that's what I can say. And plus, so in my case, my research is very I wouldn't say intensive, that's a wrong word, but it's very experimental based. So I have to be in lab and do some experiments with materials and chemistry and other things. So it requires me to be in person. So it does not allow me to a lot of freedom to go for part times or internships during weekdays. Only on weekends, if I want, I can go. Whereas with many people, uh, they do not have such a component of research associated with them, so they can freely choose and divide their time and plan accordingly for part-time and internships, and many people do that. So there are a lot of English teaching jobs, part-time jobs, um, um, available uh, to like Japanese high school kids, middle school kids. You have to go and teach them English, or interact with them in English, have some fun activities. That's a very popular part-time positions um, with international students at least. And then of course, second is you do internships at like startups and other things. That's also there.
Sure, sure. And did you face some rejections while applying to these internships and all, or you were like quite easy in Tokyo?
It was easy for me, at least for these internships. And the reason being is that to answer that, I think I'll have to give you quite a little bit of context that in Japan, the job hunting process is very, very different from anywhere else in the world, I would say. So here, typically, Japanese people they aim for MNCs, like multinational companies, and how that works is that you apply a year in advance for that as well. So I'm going to graduate in 2026. I will be applying in 2025 to that company, and they have their whole very, very huge process, mostly in Japanese, to go for that. And there are some companies who do it in English. So the internships which these MNCs offer is like 1 day internship, 2 day internship, or 5 day internship. It's like workplace internship just to get to know more about the companies. So mostly Japanese people go for that. And the startups or mid-sized companies, they do not have such a long process because of course they have limited resources and other things. So when they offer internships, it's usually long-term internships. And typically it has less competition to apply for compared to these MNCs and workplace internships, because most of the Japanese people they would prefer applying for those MNCs, whereas startups and mid-sized companies they are actively looking for people, and international students have like a right fit with these companies. So that's how I found this company, and I think this was the first company I applied to for internship, and I was quite lucky to get in. Yeah,
Sure, sure. These days it's said that the job market is not very good globally. Like, do you see the same in
yeah.
Japan, or Japan is an exception?
Mm, I would say exception. There aren't a lot of layoffs happening. So in Japan, I mean, I haven't worked in. I mean, I'm working at a Japanese company, but I haven't worked enough to comment. But I can say that in Japan, like once you're hired, the Japanese companies they have the mindset that once you're hired, you're here for a long time. So you would not see Japanese people switching jobs a lot. Like once they are in the company, they'll work there for 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. So and the company would also because they are so loyal, the company would also not lay them off so easily. So it's very stable, I would say. But with the foreigners and international crowd, yeah, they have this mindset that okay, I'll switch, I'll do this. So that's that. So typically, I don't think it's similar to the global job market. Yeah, like if you're hired, chances of you getting laid off are less,
Sure.
very less,
And what's the
very less.
work culture like? Like how many hours you have to work? 8, 10, any work-life balance kind of thing?
I'm doing an internship, so I can just tell about that. So my work hours are from 10 to 7, which is like what with 1 hour lunch breaks, it's like 8 hours.
Yeah,
But of course, that's just the on paper. You can of course work more or less than that. Yeah,
sure, sure. So
yeah,
okay, not that bad. So,
yeah.
and what are your future goals? Like next few years, what are your plans?
So after graduation, as of now, I plan to work for 2 years at least. Hopefully in Japan, but also open to somewhere else. And then I want to go for a PhD somewhere. And after a PhD, I see myself going back to India.
Okay, I mean, you want to become like a professor or something, or like industry
Um,
researcher?
yeah, hopefully, professor. I want to stay in R&D, so hopefully, professor. Yeah.
So you are following your supervisor back in your college, right?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah.
Sure, sure, sure. And coming to the very last question now, what will be your advice to the younger yourself, the ones who are aspiring to come to maybe Japan or study abroad in general?
Yeah, I would say that be very wise while applying. A lot of students I see that they, just for the namesake want to go abroad and to study, and then they end up spending like lakhs of rupees taking student loans. Uh, it's just too much. So I'm not saying that, don't go to US or don't go to this country or don't do this. My advice would be just that be very wise, because uh, getting, taking student loans and other things is not very easy to, repay those debts later. So be very wise when you are selecting a country or a university to apply to. Um, and yeah, that's all. That's my key advice, I would say. I think rest all it's all there on the internet on how to apply, how to make a profile. This is all there on the internet. But this one thing which no one talks about is this student loans. So just be
Sure,
very
sure.
careful about that.
Any LinkedIn recommendation? What do you think? How do you see LinkedIn as a tool for you?
LinkedIn is good. There are a lot of opportunities available. But I do see that in Japan, LinkedIn is not very wide, not as widely used as other countries. But yeah, it's really nice. I think we also connected on LinkedIn, so that's really nice. It's a good medium to connect with people. And I try to I keep getting a bunch of inquiries almost on a daily basis from people on how to apply to Japan, and it's mostly the same question. So I hope that now with this video, I can just share that video with them, and they can get some more advice on this because it just becomes too overwhelming for me to reply to the same question to everyone. Um, yeah, but I
Yeah,
hope
that's
this
good.
video.
So this video will get viral that way.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
Sure, sure.
Yes.
Thank you, Vish, for your time and insights, and hope this has recorded all your experiences, and you can share this recorded video to anyone who asks question about Japan now, and
Yes.
including our own audience. And I think it was
Yes.
also good to know that there is a country like Japan and the University of Tokyo and things like that, where people can also
Yeah.
consider while applying abroad, and one of the application can be
Yes.
thrown in this direction also, not just on the west
Yes.
side.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Definitely. I would highly recommend that. Yeah. It's a good place to, be at. I definitely recommend people to come to Japan. Yeah.
Correct. Thank you very much. Have a good day. Bye.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you. Bye.